if you want to fight less with your spouse, both of you, here's something you can do. You blow up on each other and you're fighting, and it's almost, it makes me angry because it happens to me, and I don't want somebody else. It's like a shame to watch two loving people get in a fight over something that's dust under the rug.
So 50 ingredients in a Chick-fil-A sandwich. I mean, Lord bless Chick-fil-A, but dude, can you reduce the ingredients on the Chick-fil-A sandwich?
Please. Hey everybody, thanks for joining in to the Desolate Joe podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Adam Saucerman. I created this specific podcast series to be a relaxed and casual dialogue with our comedic and thoughtful co-host, Mr. Joe Williams, punctuated with relevant and lengthy dives into vital functional medicine concepts that can have a profound effect on your health and the health of your family. As always, feel free to check out our other podcast series and resources at www.desolatehealth.com, where we attempt to pursue and purvey the most relevant and cutting-edge health information in various forms to fulfill our mission of reconciliation of healthy living. Also, it is important for me to say that the content provided on this platform is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as medical advice or a substitute for professional care. I'm a licensed physician, but the information shared here does not establish a doctor-patient relationship. Always consult your healthcare provider or a qualified medical professional regarding any questions or decisions about your health or medical conditions. Do not delay seeking professional advice because of information you have read or viewed here. Now let's get to it.
People spend more on their homes and cars than they do their own health.
For sure.
So you think about that. It's like I can't do anything without my health.
Yep.
And if I'm just running ragged, just throwing caution to the wind with my health, and I've seen it so many times, and I'm 40 years old now, so I've seen people younger than me be affected by health where you're like, wow, that's kind of strange. What, this 30-year-old something person is like in bad shape.
It's sick.
And their life that they're living is certainly not healthy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And then, of course, older people, I feel like, I've seen people that are like Sylvester Stallone, we just talked about. He's 75, 76 years old.
Yeah.
Whatever he's doing, I want to be doing,
I don't know. He might tell you, hey, yo, I don't recommend this, but I mean, what was
Sylvester? Know what I'm saying? I used to do like, nothing but eggs and meat back in the day. And then, once to the vegetables is like, a lot better.
Can I stop real quick?
No, you're good. I was saying.
Everybody, real quick.
Oh, hey.
I just want to introduce you guys. We're sitting here rambling. This is a handsome man that lives down the street from me.
Handsome man down the street.
Charismatic.
Good morning.
Yeah. Charming. His name is Joe. And so maybe we're going to name this podcast. I don't know. We haven't named this, but this is going to be probably a consistent thing because Joe is, like I said, a charming guy. And I feel like also he's non-medical, Joe, right? This disclosure.
I'm non-medical.
Correct.
I'm. Let's just say I'm a holistic guy.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I have Joe here this morning, and I think we could just keying up some great dialogue, especially from a Joe. I say average Joe. There's nothing average about this man right here in front of me, but in the sense of you're not an MD, and all of your questions would be incredibly probably relevant to everybody that would be watching this. Mm-hmm. And so I guess this morning we're talking with Joe. We're going to have a cup of Joe with Joe and talk about all things medical. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt, Joe.
No, you didn't interrupt. I was going to throw my little one-liners that I love to come up with off the top of my head. One being desolate, the desolate doctor, the desolate health. I mean, if you're back to the point talking about drinking, if you're desolate drinking, well, you might need to look at yourself in the mirror. But to your point on drinking, I feel like the older I've gotten, the less I'm drinking. Yeah. My liquor cabinet. I used to be proud of my little setup and my little pantry. Like, hey guys, look at my collection, and it has dwindled down to maybe some tequila. Tequila's probably on the scale of alcohol damage. And I'm, if I'm at dinner, I like a good glass of wine.
Yeah,
I like a tequila drink too. It all depends on the situation. So I kind of weigh that. It's like an old line from a funeral parlor in the middle of North Carolina. Their motto was "Weigh well what you can only once decide." Weigh well what you can only once decide.
I like it.
It was on the funeral parlor sign. Pretty cool. It was very profound, but I'm like, what? It's a funeral home, so Pretty cool line.
I'm excited that your life was moved by the funeral home line.
It was. You're driving off I-40. You see that, and you're like, wow.
Somebody's making a difference out there.
Yeah, you'll never forget that.
Yeah.
But yeah, drinking being one of those, it's like, okay, I'm going to weigh well what I can only once decide here.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to garage drink like I used to.
Were you a garage drinker, Joe? You
I mean, look, I'm a rock and roll guy.
yeah.
So I've got a drum set in the garage.
Hey, no judgment here, man. It's all good.
Yeah. And we'll get into a rock session one day. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of bucket. This shouldn't be a bucket list. It should just be something we do. But
It's something, yeah.
it's on me. I apologize. You're always ready. Joe's always ready.
Well, I'd say that. I talk a lot.
Your life's getting busier, though.
It certainly has.
Yeah.
But rock and roll and health, you can have both. You can have both. Look at Mick Jagger.
You can.
I don't think he's drinking anymore.
Some of those guys, man. I'll just say, this is nothing. Again, no judgment on anyone, but some of the lives that they've lived, and they'll outright tell you. I think there was one time where Steven Tyler, whose podcast was he on? Steven Tyler, maybe. Oh, so I think it was. I don't get in a lot of content, but I think it was have you seen the Hot Wings Challenge?
Oh,
Do you know where they eat the hot wings?
yeah, I've seen the Hot Wings Challenge.
I'm
yeah.
not sure, but I'm pretty sure Steven Tyler was on there one time, and I think the question was about cocaine.
Oh, really?
And I think that he literally said, I don't want to get wrong. Somebody could go find it right now, 100%.
Yeah.
If I had a Jamie,
For the
I'm
viewers.
not at all sure. I'd be like, Jamie,
We don't have a Jamie yet.
pull it up. Yeah, I think that he said easily like over $1 million worth of cocaine in his lifetime or something. It's
Wow.
let me just throw this out there. Cocaine is very bad for you. It is there's a significant association with cocaine and arteriosclerotic vascular disease. So it is it's a no-no.
Tell me
in
what
every which way.
this arterial. Wait, say that again.
CVD.
Yeah, give me the
Arteriosclerotic
acronym.
cardiovascular disease. It's
What is it? Tell the listeners and viewers, what does that do if you're out there partying hard?
Layman's terms, it's the crap inside your blood vessels, more or less. Yeah, and the other, I guess it would also encompass the effects on essentially the cardiovascular system, all the heart and arteries, and which is your pump. It's your sort of pump of life. Your brain thinks you through life, but your heart is the sort of machine that keeps you going and powers everything, so that you could even be moved. It's kind of like if you were a computer, right? You've got
Brain's
your
a computer.
Yeah, you got your no. I mean, well,
But the heart's the engine.
we'll just say it's the power source.
Power source.
Yeah. Actually,
Okay.
it's not. I mean, all right, I just got to get off this analogy. I'm losing it
Cut.
here, but
Take two. Just kidding.
But yeah, no, I'm trying to think is that like if you plug in, that's not really it, because like we really don't understand like why in the world. Like a crazy fact. My brain's full of garbage, but
It's not garbage.
if you took your heart, there's a little group of cells in your heart. It's the synatrial node. This little group of cells, like absolutely just will beat 60 to 80 times a minute on their own without provocation. They just will do it. And so if I took a knife, cut them out, threw them in a deep petri dish, and for whatever reason they still had enough, blood and oxygen to do their thing, they would continue to fire every 68. And there might be some, profound scientific discovery to understand why, but there's things that are really interesting about our body. But that's just one of them. Is why does your heart beat to begin with? Why does it? And it's kind of like, yes, there's a technical explanation with neuron, but like what is really powering us? It's insane. Life. It's essentially it's going back to like questions of life and origins and cells. Just being alive and moving is profound. It's a profound thing. And
well, it's one of those where it's beyond the human level of understanding.
yeah.
Simply.
You can't leave it there. We can still investigate and take it as far as we can.
You can investigate all you want.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's what we're here for. There are some humans put on this earth to do that.
Yeah.
They've been given a gift to do that. Yeah. Me, I haven't been given that gift. I've been given the gift of why do they say gab? Why is it gab?
Gab was going to come out of me. You know that I use your term. This is just for everybody else to know. This is Chatty Cathy here.
Cathy.
Who gave you that name?
I believe it was a toy from the 80s. And
Really?
then I think
Didn't
it was
know
a
that.
toy. You'd have to look it up, Jamie, who's not here. But it was a toy from the 80s. Chatty Cathy is me. My wife calls me that. I'll be in social situations and And you know, there's always one that's more social than the other in the group, in the couple.
Sure.
And so opposites attract, and I do the talking, and she does the hey schedule. Got to go, Joe. Get out. Time to go.
I've seen this in action.
Yeah, and I think it's a good balance.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I'd be talking, and I wouldn't have time to focus on my health.
I agree.
You know.
I think that's my wife is similar. I think I would probably be the one that maybe that's just a man thing in general, because the wives are so much better at being on task and focusing on what does the family need right now, where does the family need to go. Like sometimes we do it in a different aspect. It's from a certain perspective, but in the like very core nuts and bolts of like we got to go, we got to be here, we got to leave, we got to do this. The kids, because you know a lot of it. If you do have kids, some people don't, but you know we've got 4 kids, and the wife's always she's there like.
You've got 4. I've got 2. It's like, man,
we've got.
Look at you guys.
We got to get ready for bed, or we got to eat dinner or something. And I'm just chit chatting with Charming Joe, and it's like I'm just not ready to leave yet.
Microphone work here. No, but it's all good. You know, we compliment each other great, just like I feel like you and your wife compliment each other. So
absolutely, I think most. Well, I don't want to say most marriages.
Oh
because
yeah,
some marriages
they're numbered now.
End in disaster. But
hear a lot of things on.
I think why we always say this like complimenting well is because marriage is never perfect, and there's just some intrinsic differences between men and women, and that's the beauty of marriage. And this is me getting way off topic. I'm not trying to be the.
It's all right.
The one in charge of this, but the beauty of marriage is really like 2 people who are imperfect. And hopefully they recognize that immensely, which gives them the opportunity to recognize there is a different entity in front of me, like biologically, neurochemically, and that I have nothing to give but grace to them because I too am not imperfect, and she's coming at this from a totally different perspective as well, and we really have to just try to understand each other. It's really hard. I mean,
it is.
You know
it's
what?
Work.
Let's use this.
You got to work it.
A segue into something quite medical and near and dear.
Yes, I'm all ears.
I mean, so let's talk about real quick. Speaking about getting in fights with this is really, isn't that basically tracking the dots? Yeah, you're talking about fighting with your spouse, right? Sleep. Let's just talk about sleep for a second. I talk about this with patients all the time. If you want to fight less with your spouse, both of you, here's something you can do. You take this pill. This is not a pill. This is what doctors should be prescribing 90% of the time before they ever talk about sort of, a lot of times the next step, or this should be the foundation before they get to where they're just say, take a pill. Because if you're still doing the crap thing or the wrong thing or have the wrong lifestyle, the wrong system in place, a pill like maybe can abate some of the symptoms, modulate or moderate some of the symptoms you're having. But the core fundamental issue is you've got a sleep problem. Like there's a bazillion things that go into fighting with your wife. And I'm not saying trying to be too simplistic here, but literally, so sleep, the function of sleep, it's incredible. The data, and there's studies and data to sort of back this. Your prefrontal cortex, for people at home, prefrontal cortex.
That's located at the front of your head?
Yes.
Okay, prefrontal cortex.
Yes, like,
listeners and viewers,
it's like this part of the brain.
Touch your forehead.
That's right. This is the executive decision maker of the brain. So your brain is actually, most people probably think about it like just this big homogenous thing. It's actually not. It's kind of compartmentalized in a lot of ways.
There's different departments, right?
With a lot of interconnections in between, so they can sort of communicate with each other. But sort of the, heart and soul of your prefrontal cortex. This is where you live your life out in the sense of your thoughts and imagination and executive decision making. Where today, I'm going to do this or that. And you get to choose with your prefrontal cortex, your executive decision maker. Think in an executive like CEO, sort of the CEO of you. I'm hungry right now. That's coming from all kinds of different parts of your brain. That's like hormonal and can be neuronal. In many ways, it's kind of coming up to the executive saying, sir, we need to eat some calories right now or we're hungry. Well, the front part of your brain is like, it doesn't matter because right now I'm sitting down with Joe, having a cup of Joe, and we're going to keep talking about medical things. I'm actually not hungry right now, but
I'm not either. I just had a wonderful shake.
Really?
As I came in.
Oh, we could talk about that too.
And
I gotta
man,
keep on.
I could tell you about that. We got to stay on topic.
Sorry.
Boy, we are. Just subscribe. Click the link below because you're gonna like this. I'm telling you, this might be a 2-person show after a while. Adam, I'm just saying.
I'm trying not to rabbit hole here because I will rabbit hole. But so, anyways, that part is coming up to your brain, and the executive decision maker is the one that has the capacity to say, "I feel you and I understand you right now, but we're not going to eat because right now we have something else to do." Or you're the part of your brain that's saying, "Man, I'm tired." You've got this, a complex of things from your pineal gland, your suprachiasmatic nucleus, other parts of your brain that are sort of creating this impulse or this drive to be like, "Man, I need to go to bed." Your executive decision maker also is kind of like, "You know what? Right now it's not time to sleep. Got to get this done, or got to put the kids to bed, or got to take a bath, or got to brush my teeth, or whatever it is."
Yeah.
So in fights, usually we're losing our cool. There's multifactorial other things that are obviously going into fighting, but one thing that everybody can do to help themselves from fighting as much and having a better marriage. This is no medical advice. You're not my patient yet, but I'm just speaking out loud something that I would say to maybe one of my patients. So I don't know if you can take this or not, but it's a disclaimer. I'm not giving you medical
the viewer
advice.
listener is a patient. Think potential patient.
This is things that they might hear from me, but I'm not giving them direct advice. But
Right,
I don't think giving more sleep is ever a bad set of advice. But long and short of it is that over time that we can see throughout the day, you sort of have like a bank, your stored up capacity to like make decisions in a very executive way of just, this is the best or that's not, I'm doing this. Slowly over time, it gets wore down in the sense of, if you ever heard of decision-making fatigue?
I've heard of it, but
So throughout the day,
I don't know.
You say you get 5 o'clock, man, and the people who are trying to sell you crap are extremely aware of this. So you like can't figure out why you just get home from work, you're like exhausted because your executive decision making has been going all day long. You just want to sit on the couch and like maybe put on a pair of shorts and turn on the TV.
Yeah.
Maybe average like typical
Sort of
American,
unplug for a
like
second.
correct. You're like exhausted. You're about to get hit from like probably I don't know the specific times because I don't do this, but somebody else could probably tell you. But I want to say it's like in the 5 to 7 o'clock range. You're like most vulnerable
for
to
weak decision making.
Yes, sometime after work, because in the early morning, your executive decision maker, it's all there. Like it's impenetrable.
Yeah.
Someone can come and you're like, I don't need that.
You're
Like,
sharp in the morning.
yeah, you're like, I don't need that. That's like way on our finances, and that's just stupid right now. But you get wore out, then maybe it's like much more smaller things, like Burger King's going to send you an ad at 4 or 5 o'clock, and normally you'd have the executive decision making function to be like, I ain't eating Burger King because that makes me feel like an app.
You're going to see that ad at 5 p.m.
Sorry, I'm not saying that Burger King is a sin, but I will say that, like, as general, my experience with Burger King is if I eat it, I feel like instead of eating it, I've taken it and I like rubbed it on my face.
That's what it's coated with. It's coated with chemicals. Just so you know, listeners out there. Now, this is coming from.
I'd say that's coming from Joe.
It's not average, Joe. I'm not average, but I'm just going to tell you that if you're picking fast food, expect to feel like crap afterwards.
It's unfortunate.
Just expect it. Now, if you're eating fast food all the time, and then your body's getting acclimated to all of those chemicals that it's craving, all the MSG, all the things that are, and all these different fast foods, 50 ingredients in a Chick-fil-A sandwich. I mean, Lord bless Chick-fil-A, but dude, can you reduce the ingredients on the Chick-fil-A
We
sandwich?
still eat Chick-fil-A. I would like to know what that is.
I'm telling you.
Anyways, so
But anyways,
I'm
back
rabbit holing.
Back to sleeping.
Rabbit holing. Anyways, and
I know, and I'm a rabbit hole guy too.
Yeah. So anyhow, and if you love Burger King, God bless you. Do your research, decide your own decisions about
It's okay
nutrition.
once in a while.
But
It's
anyhow,
okay once in a while.
So you're sitting down on your couch. That's whenever you're going to get hit with these ads because your capacity to make executive decisions has gone down, and they know that you're weak at that moment.
Wow.
And this is where life
Isn't that
is going to
something?
come and get you. So the same thing with your wife. So if you guys are underslept, as a general rule, that capacity to moderate or modulate all that information and those impulses that's coming up to your brain, that's the executive decision maker. And you've got to care for this thing if you're wanting to be, because nobody out there wants to be. If they do, then they're just mistaken. Like, it is demonstrably so. You are going to bring death and misery in and around your world. That if you're completely just unable to control yourself, you're going to be so impulse driven. But you don't want to be fighting with your wife. One of the easiest things you can do is protect your executive decision maker and get good rest, because you've got a long day ahead of you, and a lot of things are going to happen, and you want that thing to be intact whenever something comes up, because they're imperfect, you're imperfect. We need to be able to sort of moderate our responses and to take a second, because overwhelmingly so, you'll blow up on something small. And it really is something that you could look at another time during your day or another time during the week or the year. You would have never gotten upset at all. It's so like moment specific to where just at that time your sleep was trash, or your executive decision maker was down. Maybe your hormones are met because you ate trash that day and you haven't exercised for days, or maybe you don't do any of that stuff, but still all of a sudden.
Or your exposure to blue light, social media, things like that.
Stress. I mean, so cortisol, maybe you're stressed out because you're like, there's obvious effects of you just Instagrammed or whatever it is that you're doing for hours staring at your phone.
Doom scrolling.
You blow up on each other and you're fighting, and it's almost, it makes me angry because it happens to me, and I don't want somebody else. It's like a shame to watch two loving people get in a fight over something that's dust under the rug.
Something so trivial.
So small, correct. And that goes back to sleep. And so today, you want to have a better marriage. It's crazy, but give it to yourself to sleep. That would be a. I guess I think it's the weirdest. Like, what would you say? In the sense of, I can't tell anybody anything in some sense, because I feel like it's like a liability thing. But as a general rule, getting good sleep, a good healthy sleep routine is absolutely a good thing. Go do it. Have a better marriage. Be a better parent. You want to not blow off on your kids whenever they do something that's probably just being a kid, but you have zero patience. You're aggravated and riled up again because sleep, going back to stress, like if you look at stress, anxiety, deplete people of like rest. And I'm talking good rest, stage 4, stage 5. It doesn't mean that you were sedated because you like got plastered with alcohol and you were like, your eyes were closed for 12 hours. You're going to wake up feeling like trash, and we look at your brain and your brain waves and everything's going to be a mess. I'm talking about good rest, which is, we all need it. We all want it.
Sober rest.
Sober rest.
Sober, clean, living rest.
I think that's I would say sober rest. That's good.
Sober rest. I think daylight savings time, as long as we still have that, will help you.
Is that going
rest
away,
more.
by the way?
I don't know. I heard somewhere it was going to go away, but we had it happen a couple weeks ago, and
we did have that.
And it helps. It does help families come inside sooner. And
do you like it? Do you like the?
Do I like it at first, and then I'll get annoyed by it around probably February, March.
Sure, absolutely, I get that. Yep.
Yeah, it's like
we live in Wilmington though, right? It's warm. It's warm enough to run around like with your shirt off and shorts.
True.
In February.
We don't live in Finland, so.
We're itching. We're itching to get outside because like I want to stay out longer. It's warm and nice. And
and
putting me.
If you like golf, I mean, I talk like I play golf all the time. I used to, but and I play a handful of times a year. But that affects your afternoon 9 holes. If you want to go sneak out and play 9, daylight savings time does not help that, but it does help. Staying on theme here with sleep. We're in the bed at like 7:30, 8 o'clock. We're like,
Seriously? That's whenever you guys go to bed?
Well, this time of year, because everything's dark, everyone's winding down, maybe one of my kids is doing a little bit of homework, or, I'm not going to lie to you, we do watch a little TV. Watch a little TV before bed. Now, I'll try not to scroll right before I lay down. And when it comes to sleep, on top of that, to add a little sprinkle of what I do and every day is definitely airplane mode. Airplane mode that phone.
Yeah.
Keep those EMFs down. That's a whole nother episode. But it's a real thing now.
I'll like full disclosure, I've never really as a what would you say, a core principle in my practice with patients in the world in general. We often don't need more half information. I'm not saying I don't want to limit what people are saying, but for me, I don't want to just clog the airways with more things that can be deceiving because some people, there might be some truth to it, but the overall effect probably ends up maybe having a negative effect or leads people the wrong way. As a full disclosure, I have not investigated the effects of electromagnetic frequency, EMF, is that what is that?
Yeah, or fields
waves,
or frequencies,
fields,
probably both.
electromagnetic fields, or like the radiation from Wi-Fi's, and it's something again, like
Yeah.
I'm a board certified emergency physician. If you're dying, like there is, at least in this my career, I might not recognize, or I may have never seen something, even though I've seen 50,000. I calculate that.
I mean, you've
And I
seen
don't
some
actually know.
things.
I've seen a tremendous breadth of pathology.
Yeah.
Most of it bread and butter: heart attack, stroke, chest pain, belly pain, appendicitis, bowel obstruction,
Gunshot wounds.
absolutely lacerations, but also some peculiar, and I won't even get into the details.
That's another episode.
Objects in weird places. I mean, I don't know, the emergency doctors, psychiatric things, like emergency doctors, it's been a super awesome specialty for me to be able to contact so many patients, so much pathology, and sort of get an opportunity to see patterns at scale. But, over the last 5 years, probably because just being a dad and someone who cares about health, and, I feel like that medical school background and emergency medicine background and practice of emergency medicine has really given me the tools and the platform to then investigate hardcore all the things that I think most people are actually wanting to know about is what is it in our day-to-day life that we're doing that's sabotaging, our capacity to be who it was that we're made to be, who, like the maximum potential that we have, we want to get it out. We want to be able to utilize that. I think a term you could use is like optimize. I'm wanting to optimize my health and my routines and to just be the best person I can be for God and family and children and neighborhood, city, the whole bit. And so, anyways, it's like I'm waxing a little bit philosophical, but over the past 5 years, really probably.
I like philosophical.
Yeah, man. Over the past 5 years, just diving into certain topics, and sadly, like I'll just be outright honest with someone. It's like I have not investigated. I don't know when the opportunity, because there's so many things. Like it's like a triage list of what's next on the list. Like maybe it's figuring out how to set up microphones to do like or editing something, which you could just pay for somebody. But I've had more fun like doing some editing and learning how to run this stuff than such a fun little.
Well, some things you need, some things you pay for.
But
this type of setup, I think, is something, a learned skill that you need to know if you're going to keep the show going.
So the key here is just the fact that I will take a deep dive into that, and I look forward to doing it. And it stinks. It's like, but Saucerman, right now, like all kinds of bad stuff could be happening to you, because I'm sure I'm inundated. I live probably a mile and a half or two. How far do you think that cell tower is from our house?
Oh,
what kind of effects does that have?
Right.
Or my Wi-Fi that runs 24/7. Actually, we don't use a router. We have
what do you have?
Through Verizon, it's the box that like takes in the 5G and shoots it to the house.
Okay, so is that a hotspot? Or?
I don't know what you would call it.
And this is not a plug for Verizon, just so you know.
No, but I did that, and I willingly, in my ignorance, may have been making a terrible like health decision for my family for their long term. And this is what everybody's facing. And so, for me, it's kind of triage, and I certainly need to investigate there. But guys, you have to understand, and this is to people listening, there are so many things happening in your life on a regular basis that are having effects on you over the long haul. Like you're wanting to be, I can't speak for everybody. I hate using these terms, but I think most everybody wants to live a very long life that is like having great vitality throughout the whole. People refer that to as health span, not just lifespan length, but health span, meaning full healthy all the way to the end.
True, yeah.
And to be able to do that, there's actions, practical things you're doing in your daily life are determinants long term. You have a genetic makeup, and that's sort of going to be a sort of the foundation in which you're working from, but you can have profound impact on what you're doing on a daily basis. How you eat, how you sleep, what does your sort of physical activity look like, your mental health, spiritual health. These things all come back to creating this person that you're just wanting to give yourself the best opportunity for success. And for me, it's an enigma, and I want to just go to the very root of all these things. And so I'm doing it, stepwise process, but EMFs.
Yeah.
One day coming soon. Or what I'll probably end up doing is I'll just go, deep on this, and then I'll go find the EMF, magnate or whoever it is that's the ultimate pro here at EMFs or radiation, and we'll talk to them about effects that they found in their research. Something that'll be something we've as a plug. We actually haven't even reached out to her yet, but there's a lady who we're wanting to talk to that's pretty local. I think she's in Durham. I don't know if she's a Duke researcher, but looks like she's done a lot of research with plastics, and I just picked up on some stuff with her, and it was like, we got to talk to this lady. It's crazy.
Plastics
I've
is
never
one of
heard,
those.
have you heard maybe a buzzword where people are eating a credit card worth of plastic a day?
Yes.
Have you heard that?
Yes, I have, because Holistic Joe here kind of looks into these things.
Good job, Holistic
And
Joe.
I'm telling you, I am, when it comes to, I'm not a board certified doctor.
Don't have to be.
I'm not a health.
Don't have to be.
Yeah, I did not study health in college. I studied, actually, if you really want to know, to the listeners out there and viewers, Parks and Recreation. It was a great degree because I was going to be a golf pro. I was going to be in the golf world, not on TV, but I was going to be like a teaching pro. That was my schooling, if you will. And, I became an expert account manager for a great company. And so I love what I do. But yeah, holistic is something that I've had to do on my own. You do your own research, but going back to plastics, one of the very things that we touch every day for plastics is coffee pots. The water in a coffee pot. It's hot.
Water.
It's giving off some type of, and I don't know the exact words.
So keep going.
But microplastics.
I'm about to jump all over this.
Yeah,
I've got
microplastics.
a little
So,
tidbit
yeah.
for you. Keep going. Go
So
ahead. Let you-
finishing up with the coffee pot, sure, the coffee ends up in a glass container.
yeah.
But, the point is,
all the things inside the coffee pot though are
are plastic, yeah. So I'm trying to really reduce plastic usage, microwaves, trying to really reduce that. But going back to plastics specifically, trying to reduce any appliance that touches food that involves plastics.
Simple. These are simple things.
Plastic drinking bottles.
100% simple things. And
avoidable things.
Let me just, let's take a little dive, Joe.
Go
How much
down
time do you have, Joe?
Oh, wait, let's see
Joe
here.
is on a schedule.
We are on a Joe Rogan time. I could talk till noon probably. We got a little bit of time left.
All right. So,
But let's take a deep dive down into the world of plastics. Is that where we're heading?
unfortunately or fortunately.
No,
but
no.
You brought up the coffee pot. So
Yeah.
let me just extract a little bit of information that
Percolate from that.
It's percolating hardcore right now. So we'll talk about two separate things, and I think this is really super valuable information that I think will make you say, that's very interesting.
Things that make you go,
All right. So one, you were talking about the coffee pot. There's internal plastics, gets very hot, and there's steam, and you're smelling things. So one very unique study, and I'm not saying that these people are getting their, the plastic from their coffee pots, but we don't really know.
right,
So
right.
I'm going to struggle on the numbers. I want to say it was about 30, let's say ballpark 30 people. Could be wrong. Someone can bring the fact checkers on. So this is off the cuff here.
I'm not fact checking. I'm
About 30 people. It was in Sao Paulo, a study where they looked at 30 dead people. I think they ranged somewhere ballpark 30 to 100 years old of these 30 people. They were deceased, so they died. They took them to a coroner, and I presume the coroner did an autopsy and cut out the olfactory bulb. Do you know what the olfactory bulb is?
no.
So
What
there's-
is the old factory bulb?
Just
Ol-
OL,
OLE?
olfactory, yeah, like
Olfactory.
oleo, or probably goes back to Greek for smelling odors. Anyways,
Yeah.
someone can fact check me. I might be
Olfactory
wrong,
bulb?
but I think about Spanish. I think oleos, like I smell something. But
Yeah.
okay. Anyways, so right, they cut out the olfactory bulb, which is a group of nerve endings that come down in your nose. You smell, goes up through your nose.
Yeah.
These nerve endings are run up as part of the olfactory bulb. So what ended up happening is they cut this out, and I think they essentially, wash away all the human tissue with probably chemicals or something. So there's basically particulate matter that isn't going to be washed away by the chemicals, particularly microplastics. And whenever they went, and I think they used infrared spectroscopy, I think, to look at it. But what was wild is that a number of these people had plastic in their brain because the olfactory is actually central. That's CNS. So we're past blood-brain barrier. We think that it's probably tracking up through these nerves into the blood-brain barrier, which is coming through your nose. But I think polyvinyls, this can also be fact-checked. I'm not for absolute certain, but I want to say polyvinyl was probably in 50% of these people they found. Or maybe that made up 50%. It was about 50% of the people had plastic in their olfactory bulb, and I think 50% of those was polyvinyl, which is the most common. And that is the stuff like in plastic wrap around your food. That's like in your plastic waste bin. That's in some, it's used in synthetic fabrics and carpets. It would probably be also in your coffee pot. So
is it something that you think that okay, let's say if it's in a steam form, and you're smelling it.
Correct. It's going to probably
does it solidify back when
deposit. And I'll get to another crazy sort of. I don't know if it's olfactory as well. I think so. Yeah. It was olfactory as well. But so it probably deposits in your nose and tracks back along the fibers into the central nervous system. But the key here is that, guys, plastic has no business up in my brain. And what kind of impact or effect it's going to have. I mean, obviously now, it can have central nervous system effects because it's actually able to get up into the brain. So I'll pair that with one other piece of data. This was the National Interview Health. I'm not sure. It was a survey, and it was actually, I think, looking at particularly, it was looking at kids and ADHD, which, just so you know, is mind-boggling in the United States. Something, I think 11% of children carry that diagnosis, or at least according to the survey. So ballpark, we'll say 10% ADHD. That seems a little bit high to me, but so not that it's falsely high, but it just that's not good if we think that 10% of kids are ADHD. All right. Yeah. So anyhow, and they were looking at it. They tried to find associations with environmental insults or chemicals, and one thing that they found was that there's definitely a correlation with heavy metals, as well. I think it's all falling away, but I think maybe it could be plastics as well. But this is the thing that was wild was that, so like people that were like necessarily near like coal burning power plants and some other things, there's definitely this association with ADHD.
Things
which is
in the
kind
air.
of odd. Correct. That
environments they're in.
It's an association, so it's not causality, but there seems to be an association in these areas where we'll say you're taking in these chemicals. It seems like there's higher prevalence of people with ADHD. But so of those, it's what they're taking in is the ultra fine particles, which I think are defined by like maybe like 100 nanometers, like so 0.1 micrometers or smaller. I don't know how big they are, but so we have all this material to scrub the air to get the lead and mercury and stuff out of the air. But what we really probably do is just we're getting the large particles out, and then we're left with fine particles. They've looked at Germany. I'm going down the rabbit hole. I'll try to come back and bring it all back.
And then that's a whole nother episode on air purification in your home.
Yeah, no, we'll have to get into it. We'll have to get into
another holistic.
But literally, I think about in Germany they looked at it. It was something like the fine particle mass or volume in the air had gone up by like 500%. Yet they had decreased dramatically. They're cleaned up their air in some senses, but those ultrafine particles are the ones that remain. So you've got all this stuff that's in the air, potentially microplastics as well. And this stuff, anyways, what they were finding is that, again, we think it probably, these ultrafine particles, very teeny, tiny, they get up in your nose, they sit in your, through your nasal passages, and then probably track back up the olfactory to get central nervous system. So now you're getting heavy metals up in the central nervous system, which is not good. Again, stuff doesn't belong there.
No, that's not the heavy metal you want in your life.
No. Plastics up in the olfactory bulb. We're just talking about this nose. So it's kind of like people have to recognize that, all these things are around us, and I think people don't pay attention. I mean, all of us, we're going about our day, and it's frustrating, I think, because most of the stuff would have to be dealt with at a policy level. It's just the reality of it. Because trying to avoid all these things, it's it's near impossible, but it doesn't mean that you don't still do all the practical, simple things you can do to mitigate your risk and exposures.
If people are aware of the things, and that's the whole point of this wonderful podcast, is to be aware of these things, then you can make decisions. And it's worth the investment in your health.
Absolutely.
Short term, because sure, okay, let's say you don't have an air purifier or a reverse osmosis water system in your house. These are things you do need to consider, because it's a lot cheaper up front to do this than it is paying medical bills 10, 20 years down the road. Think about that.
That is the
Think about
long-term
how much it
long-term
costs.
idea for sure.
Right. And a sick person in America is very profitable for all these companies. And why would you want to give them that satisfaction? I don't. So I want to have clean air in my home. I want to have clean water.
Yeah.
I want to reduce my plastics. Sure. So, and not to mention, you're putting on average probably 300 some odd chemicals a day with certain products you're using. So you need to be aware of the products that you're putting on your hair, your body, your lotions, your shampoos, all those kind of things. So, boy, I mean, we could go on and on and on.
It's a lot.
So click the link below and subscribe.
I don't want people. The thing is, I will have to say, I don't want people to get. I think they could get dismayed or just sort of overwhelmed.
Well, yeah, it is
and
overwhelming.
I feel like that would be, something to say to everybody is that we've talked probably maybe too much about some things. Just take one simple thing.
Starting with sleep, because that's what we started with.
I feel like sleep would be a fantastic. If I could tell anybody, you want to be a better father, a better mom, a better friend, a better mother, a better, I think I already said mom, father, but anyways, better spouse, better son, sleep. And if, you're seeing your kids lose their stuff, like we could get on to the trails of ADHD, but again, your prefrontal cortex needs sleep. Your brain just needs sleep, and sleep. If you could start focusing on, I'm going to be more focused about getting sleep this week. And again, we can continue to talk, but I think we've probably made a couple points, but one of them, alcohol disrupts your sleep. So if you're having really bad sleep and you're a pretty regular consumer of alcohol, I want you to know that alcohol seems to have negative effects on your sleep, at least recovery from a physical health standpoint. But if you're going to have a glass of wine, you would need to try to do that significant hours before you actually lay your head down to go to sleep, because there's evidence that shows that it, I want to say, and this can be fact checked, reduces both increases sleep latency, so taking longer. I don't know if it takes longer to get into sort of deep sleep, and I think that you spend less time in REM per research or per data. So yeah, that would be the one thing, and the other Joe mentioned, which would be the other point, and that's that blue light. Stay away from it. The last couple hours of your sleep, just stay away from it. There is also data-backed, a really interesting study. I think it was iPad, and I won't get into specifics, but essentially putting blue light up in your eyes before you go to sleep is going to decrease your capacity to be able to sort of get into that deep sleep, and you're probably going to spend less time in sleep. So I think the blue light in the eyes, getting the cell phones out of the bedroom and the screens out of the bedroom. And, it's such a great opportunity, man. Bedtime is such a great opportunity to take a second, relax. I was mixing relax and reflect, but relax.
I like that
and
combination of words.
Reflex to reflect on your day. Take some time to read a book, or, if it's prayer or if it's meditation or something. But these things are going to turn you into that, person you're supposed to be. That stressing out blue screen is going to not provide any value other than that short-term dopamine kick you get. And then it's going to be wrecking you the next day. And it's kind of like, just take these practical steps. Yep. And start at something simple, sleep.
Yeah, totally agree. Especially if you're listening now in the next few weeks or a month, daylight savings time is your friend. Get some rest.
That's true. I mean,
it's like hibernation season.
Dark sooner. Yep. Dark sooner. Great time to snuggle up with your loved one, or snuggle up with your kids, or snuggle up yourself on the couch and
with yourself.
Yeah. Just not with bourbon.
Yeah. Don't be, having both arms around a fifth of liquor.
Yeah.
But back to my little one-liner, weigh well what you can only once decide, because it's every day.
I'll have to just spend some time and let that marinate a little bit because it has some
good
depth
line.
to it. But I think we'll have to call it. We'll call it. I think Joe's probably got to go. I've had a blast. This has been great.
Had a great time.
I think that we could make this a regular occurrence, and
It could be.
I think it'd be valuable to people. It's just a good opportunity to both talk and I think to share some information because this is the reality. One of the many reasons why I started Desolate Health comes back to the fact that most of the most important or valuable pieces when it comes to health, everybody needs to hear them. Like the day-to-day practical stuff, it would be silly for you to only hear them from your doctor in the office. The other thing is, being somebody, there's a lot of information on the internet, which I'm not, there's plenty of good things out there, but I think there's quite a bit of stuff that can be very misleading. And that's not opinion, but there's good data on certain things. And the things that they're saying, they're not really drawing from necessarily data. I feel like oftentimes, if someone's trying to sell something, that's usually a red flag, or you should be like listening with a little bit of paranoia if they have something to sell at the end of it. But as a general rule, I think I wanted to be able to just share with everybody simple things that they absolutely right now can do and need to be doing, and you don't have to pay to go see a doctor to hear this.
Right. And so,
or I wouldn't say that. I would maybe just say the doctor's probably going to be so focused on this, acute problem or the specific thing they're tackling, they might not be able to get in depth with some of this other stuff. So I'm just sort of picking
you
my
need
brain.
multiple opinions these days. And I think what you're doing with Desolate Health is, I really think that it's something that's real, because otherwise, this is a pro bono deal right now. This is look, people. He is trying to bring information to people that I think need to hear, really a objective, opinion on things. I think that's. You've seen a lot of things.
I'll say I'm fallible, but I think with time people can listen and I think they can make their own decision whether or not they trust. And I always encourage anybody. Like, go back behind if you really want to. If you have any questions, like, go and do a little bit of research yourself. But I think a lot of people out there is trying to gather consensus would be probably a good way to phrase it. They're trying to gather consensus on certain topics. And because I encourage,
I see it every day from my perspective. Not being a doctor, being online. So many things that are distracting, and so many opinions, and so many just. Everyone's an expert online.
I stay away.
Finances and medical.
I stay away.
Oh, geez.
But they're usually probably ultimately trying to sell. I guess ultimately, I don't know. I don't know. I wonder if they're trying to, like, it comes at the end, like, but here, call me and I'll set up your LLC or whatever. But
right. There's a agenda everyone has.
Yeah.
So, but thank you for having me on.
And thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
Cup of Joe with Joe. I don't know. Like, maybe let the people comment. You guys throw out. I would love, being that this is the first time I've ever done this with Joe, I think it would be fantastic to put it out to the people.
Yeah.
Comment and tell us, what do you want to name this, and give power to the people, man. Let them decide what are we going to name this. And we'll do I don't know, people can throw it out there. I don't know if I could do like a crowdsource vote on the name, but I think that ultimately we'll just look through some of the names. Yeah, we'll look through the names and then we'll ultimately decide what we thought was super, super cool. I think that's a great means.
I agree. Hey, man.
Heart clear? You got any questions? I feel like I just got done. I'm in like the patient room and it's like, do you have any questions for me? That's not how this went, but
no, this is good.
Good to have you.
I felt
have
like you answered all of my deep thoughts in my prefrontal cortex today.
Yes.
So
protect that prefrontal cortex.
Protect
folks.
your
Get to sleep.
PFC.
Your PFC, baby.
Your PFC.
Yeah. So you and your wife can have a happier marriage, because we do want happier marriages in this country, 100%.
We need more of those. We need more. We need more of them.
All right, guys. Peace out. Enjoyed having you.
See ya.
See ya.
Just subscribe. Click the link below because you're going to like this.
Way to go, Joe.
Hey. That was good, dude.
You enjoyed it?
That was fun.
Is that not fun?
I enjoyed the heck out of that.